Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reed with Future Pastimes, and I'm the designer of The Adventures of Conan, which is an upcoming asymmetrical dice game from Gale Force 9. And there's a couple of good preview videos out for what's in the game and basically how it plays. I'm going to put a link to those in the description. There's going to be more videos, including playthrough and other material about the game as it launches for its GameFound campaign in under 10 days. But one of the things that I've noticed in some of these videos is that not everybody's using the names of the symbols as they're describing the different symbols on there. And it's not a big deal, but some people have been wondering, what are the names of those symbols? Surely there isn't one called feet and one called satchel, and there's not. So let's take a look at the different dice in the game and the different symbols, and I'll let you know what the official names of those symbols are for these dice in The Adventures of Conan. We're going to start off by looking at the character dice, and we're going to start off with Conan. So Conan has two types of dice. He's got the bright orange here are his primary dice, and the sort of orangish off-white, sort of lighter colored ones, those are the general supply. And on your character cards, it's going to tell you which dice to use. So Conan, it has those dice down there and lets you know. But if you're a particular foe, the foes have got two different kinds of primary dice. So here we've got Tothaman. He's got the red dice with the white symbols. Those are his primary. But the Bone Woman has the black dice with the red symbols. Those are her primary. So you could have both of these foes in a four-player game because they need to have two different primary dice. And the same thing with some of the allies. There's two different ally dice, the sort of greenish there with the dark symbol, and then the even darker green with the white symbol. So you'll see on there. But we're looking at Conan's dice. Now, every type of character has one symbol that's unique to their character. And for Conan, that is the battle axe. So that's Conan's character symbol. So anything that refers to, hey, your character symbol, for instance, in the plot phase, when you're rolling all of your dice, you're trying to roll certain symbols that match the plot card, but what you don't want to roll are your character symbols, because those are like strikes, and 3 strikes and you're out. So the character symbol for Conan is the battle axe. Character symbol for the foes, and here are their two primary dice, so the black and the red, the hand. So, they're casting a spell or just getting Conan's way. And for the ally, we have the tankard or flagon. So it's frothing with ale or mead or whatever it is they're drinking. And these are actually the primary dice for the ally. So you can see you've got a light green with a dark green, and then you have a dark green with the white. And then the secondary die is going to be the same for all of the allies. It's a white die with green symbols. And the secondary die, again, this is the primary dice for the foe. The secondary dice are this sort of grayish symbol. So they have the same pool. If you have two foes, they're going to be sharing a pool of general sort of secondary dice. So those are the character symbols. And in the main phase, your character symbol is almost like a wild because it can be used to what's called deploy. You're deploying it to a different symbol, so you can use that action. But it's not a complete wild because there are some restrictions. Now, there is a wild, and it's the star. So if you get a star, if you roll the star, that is a wild, and it can be any symbol, including a character if you need it. And there are some times where you're going to want a character symbol. You certainly won't need to change this to a character symbol in order to deploy, because this does exactly whatever it is you were going to deploy to. So the wild is very handy. Conan does not have any wilds on his primary dice. He only has them on his secondary, or the general dice. What else does Conan have on his primary dice? Well, he has got, let's start with this one here. So the crossed swords, this is called a warrior symbol. So that is what you're trying to roll. In certain cases, you certainly will need this if you're in a fight or a duel. You will actually form a warrior pool, and more into that on some of those videos. But Conan, uniquely, because everyone's got some warriors, but Conan has a double warrior. So this counts as 2 warriors when Conan is trying to accumulate as many as possible. He can use it as 1 warrior, and there are certain things where, like, I need a warrior for this adventure, and you can say I'm using that. But adventures, you're scoring points per die used. So in this case, Conan can take care of 2 warriors, but he's only going to be scoring 1 die. So sometimes you're like, I want to actually roll warriors on the other dice. He does have the feat, but this is actually called a move. This is a move symbol, and it is used in the main action to move Conan with this particular die. Conan can also use a move action to move fate tokens, and only Conan can do that. Now, the foe's got a move die on that primary die, and they have a move symbol here on their secondary die as well. And that is true for the allies. So everybody can roll a move. There's move symbols on all of the dice, even the general supply for the ally. The general supply for the foe does not have a move, so they only have it on their primary dice. And then the other thing, I guess I should point out, the other thing is that there are 2 sides of Conan's primary die here that have split results. So this one has a warrior and a character. And so there are times when you need one of these or you need the other. In the plot roll, for example, when you don't want to roll a character, you can use this as a warrior, but only if warrior is one of the results that you need. If you don't need a warrior, then this counts as a character, and it's basically a strike against you. And then the other thing is he has another split one here where it's either the flag, which is called the kingdom symbol, or the eye there, which is a scry symbol. And for many of these symbols, there are multiple uses for them. So even like in the main phase where you're performing actions based on the dice that you roll, for a lot of these, there are 2 different actions that you can do. And I'll give you an example here in just a moment. We'll talk about the kingdom action. So you can use a kingdom action to trigger the unique kingdom effect or ability of the kingdom that you're in. So the board has got 20 kingdoms, 20 Hyborian kingdoms, from Pictland to Turan, from Nordheim to Stygia. Each one has a unique ability. It's on the board that you can read it, and then there's a summary here in the rule book of just all of the unique abilities that the kingdoms have. To trigger those abilities, you use a kingdom action on your turn. But the other thing that you can use the kingdom symbol for is there's going to be God tokens, and God tokens give you a one-shot special effect, like re-rolling a die or changing a particular symbol into another one, and a variety of other effects. Players are going to get a free God token at the start of the turn, but you can use a kingdom effect to do an action that's called Tribute to the Gods, where you pay a gold to take an available God token, and now you have another one, or if you had used it earlier, you can get it back. And so that is handy for that. So that's everything that we've got here on Conan's primary die. So he's got the warrior by itself, 1 warrior. He's got a warrior that's part of a split, so either a warrior or a character. And then he has a double warrior. So half of the sides on this die are warrior, and that's going to be important for certain things. Now, if we look at the other die, his general die, he's got the character, and he has one side that is wild, so that is handy. He has 2 of this. This is called a pirate symbol. So I'm going to give you an example. The pirate symbol, Conan can use this in one of 2 ways in the main phase. One is if he is in a kingdom that has this attribute. So all the kingdoms are going to have 1 or more symbols of the game on them. A lot of the coastal kingdoms have got this attribute. And if he is in this kingdom, he can spend this die to move himself to any other kingdom on the board that also has this attribute. That's called the sail action. So you're using your pirate to sail. The other thing is that there is an achievement track on the board that tracks 3 different types of achievements: thief, pirate, warrior. And if Conan is in a kingdom with one of those attributes, he can spend the matching die to move up a space on that track. And there are other ways that you can move up on the track, and the ally can do it as well. Who can't just spend those dice to move up on that track are the foes. They can't do that. They have to find other ways to move up on the achievement track. It can be done, but it's much easier for Conan and for the ally to do that. Likewise, this particular die has two of this symbol. So this was what was called satchel in one of them. It is a satchel. It's a little sack of gold, but it's called a thief. It's called a thief symbol, and it's used for the thief action. So anywhere as an action in the main phase, Conan could spend this die to just steal a gold from the supply. So he's getting a gold, but he can also, if he is in a kingdom with the thief attribute, he can spend a thief to move up on that thief track. So that is handy for that. And of course, he can use his warriors, and he doesn't have any on this die. He's got some on this die. If he is in a kingdom with the warrior attribute, he can spend a die that's showing a warrior to move up on the warrior track. But here, again, it's per die. So if he spent this one, he's only moving up once on that track, not twice. There are other reasons why having two warriors would be very useful. So that's everything. We've got two thieves and two pirates on here, a wild and the character. So that is what is on Conan's dice. Now, at the start of each round, players can buy additional dice. You're always going to have your 4 dice. That's your core dice in the game. You'll start each round with that. But you can buy additional dice. And for the foes, they're buying from one of 4 of the general supply. And for the allies, they're buying one of 4 of these. Conan has both types that he can buy. So he's got a little bit of an edge there. But his dice are more expensive. They cost 3 gold each. It's 2 gold each for ally dice. And for the foe dice, they want to buy extra dice. It's 1 gold for the first one, 2 for the second, and then 3 thereafter. And if they have 2 foes in the game, they have to alternate buying their dice. So they don't necessarily get to, one gets to buy all of them and the other one doesn't get any. So that's how those work. There are other ways to unlock free dice. So if you get halfway up the plot track, that generally unlocks a free die. So your first die is free for the foes. That's that 1 gold die. They get that for free, and then they're buying for 2 and then for 3. Also, if you get any of your markers halfway up the achievement track, you will unlock a free die. And that would, for the foes, that would be a second die. That would be their 2 gold die. And so if they're getting any extra dice after having 2 for free, it's going to be 3 gold each. So let's look at the foes next. We're going to start with the black and red foe die. So they've got their character. That's one of their symbols. They have a kingdom symbol on there. So that's the flag. We've seen that before. They've got the move. We talked about that. They do have a warrior on this die. And they got 2 other things. So one is this, the swirly, which is called a sorcery. This is a sorcery action. And in the main phase, this lets you cycle out the encounters. So some of the encounters don't necessarily match where Conan is or is going to end up at the end of that phase. So you might want to let's get rid of this guy or get rid of a weaker encounter and look for a stronger one. The other thing that you can do with these sorcery actions in the main phase is to gain a challenge token. Those are those tokens with the skulls on it, and then place it face down in another kingdom. And then finally, their last one is a split. So again, it's either a character or a sorcery. So that is pretty good for them. The red and white foe dice, they've got the character, they've got the move. Instead of a kingdom effect, they have the scry effect on their die. They have a split sorcery or character. They have a split sorcery or warrior. And they have a warrior. So they're not identical. They got a lot in common, but some differences. Let's go to the ally dice. So we've got the ally symbol. That's their character symbol. The dark green one, they have a kingdom. So very similar to the foes. One ally has the kingdom effect, and the other one has the scry effect on their die. They got a warrior. They've got a move. They have a split here for character and sorcery, and they have a thief. So the dark green are the sneakier ones. The light green, instead of a thief, they have a pirate. They got the same split, the warrior, and everything else is basically the same. But again, you know, they've got the scry instead of the kingdom. We'll look at the general supply dice. So for the foe, the general supply is they've got a warrior. They've got 2 wilds. So there they are. 2 different wilds. So that's a big deal. They've got a sorcery. They've got a character symbol on there. And they have a split character and sorcery. But the double wild is a really big deal. And especially because they can get these dice generally cheaper than everybody else. So that gives them a lot of flexibility. The general supply for the ally has got an ally symbol. It's got a thief. It's got a wild. It's got a move. And a warrior. And a split sorcery and character. So that is what all of the character dice. So it's a nice mix. There's some overlap between the characters, even between the different types of characters, like the 2 foes or the 2 different types of allied dice that you have in there. But there are also 6 more dice in the game, and those are the D8s. These are the kingdom dice. So there are 6 different types of kingdoms, and each has a corresponding die. And there will be times where they'll say, roll the local kingdom die. It's whichever kingdom you are in. And I'll point out that Conan has a token, the foes have tokens, the ally does not have a token. They are always considered to be wherever Conan is. So for them, a local kingdom die is whatever die matches the kingdom Conan is in. So some of the red dice are all savage kingdoms. So this is going to be kingdoms like Samaria, Eastern Desert, Nordheim. These are considered savage lands. This is the one die that has 2 blanks on it. It's D8, but 2 of the sides are blank. It's got a number of sides with warriors. So there's a lot of warriors. Your other options, you can get a move, and you could get a scry. So there are 2 moves, a scry, 3 warriors, and 2 blanks. The blue dice are the port dice. So they're going to have a couple of these pirate symbols on there. They also have the barrel. This is the trade symbol. So a trade symbol doesn't show up on any of these character dice. However, if you need to do a trade action, of course, you can either use a wild or you could use your character symbol to deploy to trade. And trade, typically you're trading one type of fate token to another. There may be other effects for it at some point, but you do have a trade. So if you roll this symbol, you're going to get a trade fate token. If you roll this, you're going to get a pirate fate token. So these are mostly ways of getting fate tokens. They also have this symbol, and this is the symbol for 1 gold or 3 gold. You're getting a 3 gold token there when you roll that, and it has 1 blank. So it's mostly pirates on here and some trades on the port die. The gray die is the Eldritch die. 1 blank side. It's got a kingdom and a thief. These are all for fate tokens. And a couple of sorceries and a gold on there. 2 kingdoms, 2 sorceries, a thief, yeah, and a blank. The green die is the military die. So it's got gold, it's got scry fate, it's got some kingdoms. It's got this symbol, and that is gets you a challenge token. So the challenge tokens have the skull on there. There's move, there's warrior. So there's a nice little variety there. The purple kingdoms are wealthy kingdoms. So you're going to also get a challenge token here. There's a couple of trades, some kingdoms, some gold, and a warrior. No surprise there. And then finally, the yellow is the treachery die for the 1 treachery kingdom on the map, Zamora. 1 blank, of course. It's got a gold. It's got a couple of thieves on there. The city of thieves, of course, is in Zamora. Some scry, some sorcery, some trade. There's a little something for everyone there in Zamora. No warrior results on here. You won't get any warrior fate tokens by rolling that kingdom die. So that's what all the different symbols are called. That's how a lot of these dice work. We're certainly going to get into this a lot more as the game comes out and the Game Found campaign starts and the playthroughs happen, and I'm allowed to speak more freely on more topics. And there will be a lot to talk about once the campaign goes live, and you'll understand when that means when it does. So there's a link to the campaign in the description. Go check that out, and let me know if you have any questions. I'll answer what I can, and I hope that you will pledge One of the groups described this game as very crunchy and strategic, and that's spot on. That's what this game is. If it's as a dice game, it's not a light game. There's definitely some depth here, but once you get past the learning curve of learning everything, including all the crazy terminology, it's actually not a hard game to play. It's pretty easy to play, but it plays very differently. And what players do has an impact on what you can and should do, which is what I like best about gaming. So there you have it. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.